Welcome back to the Privacy Report. It's great to have you with us. I was thinking on the way in today about how sticky the old mental models of security
Oh,
are.
absolutely.
If you grab like 10 people on the street and ask how they protect themselves from identity theft, I bet 9 of them are going to say, I have good antivirus, or I bought a shredder for my mail.
It's the classic castle defense mindset. We want to build a moat, but if we're being honest about the landscape in 2026, those measures are a bit like putting a steel reinforced door on a tent.
Yeah.
You're securing the wrong perimeter. The uncomfortable reality today is that the fastest, most common way to lose your identity, it isn't through some sophisticated hack of your physical device. It's through a stolen login.
Which is terrifying because it implies the hack isn't even really a hack.
Yeah.
We aren't talking about code breaking, we're talking about just copying a key.
Exactly. And that's what we need to unpack today. The industry is moving toward this idea of identity is the perimeter. But for normal people, that just sounds like, buzzwords. So we need to look at how identity theft actually functions now. The mechanics of credential stuffing, the whole economy of data brokers, and what actually stops it. And spoiler alert, the old advice of just don't click suspicious links is practically useless now.
Yeah, I think we all need a firmware update on that one. Before we get into the mechanics of this, I do want to mention that for listeners who want these insights delivered directly to their inbox, you can subscribe to our email newsletter at theprivacyreport.net. It really is the easiest way to keep up.
Absolutely. The landscape shifts so fast. Staying informed is the only way to not get blindsided.
Okay, so let's tackle this uncomfortable truth you mentioned about antivirus. We've been trained for 30 years that the little green check mark in the corner means we're safe. Why isn't that enough to stop credential theft?
Because antivirus is designed to look at files and code. It's looking for malware software that, damages your machine or spies on you. And that's still important, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But modern attacks aren't trying to break the door, the hardware. They're focused on the keys. If I have your username and password, I don't need to infect your computer. I just log in. To the computer, I look exactly like you.
Right. A firewall isn't going to flag a valid login just because the person typing it is sitting in St. Petersburg instead of St. Louis.
Exactly. Not unless you have some very sophisticated behavioral analytics going on. And I mean, if you look at the FTC's data, account takeover is the primary entry point now. It's just, it's efficient. Why spend weeks trying to find some zero-day vulnerability when I can just buy your password for $3 on a forum?
Let's talk about that marketplace. You mentioned credential stuffing. I feel like this term gets thrown around a lot in tech circles, but the actual mechanics are more industrial than people realize. It's not just one guy guessing passwords.
No,
right?
no. It's highly automated. Think of it like a business. Let's say a small, insignificant website gets breached. Maybe a gardening forum you joined 5 years ago. Hackers dump that database. They get a list of emails and passwords. That list is called a combo list.
And because we're creatures of habit, they're betting on the fact that you use that same exact password for your bank.
That's the stuffing part. They don't type these in by hand. They use .NETs to fire millions of login attempts at major sites. Amazon, Netflix, Chase, Wells Fargo, at a rate of thousands per minute. They're literally stuffing the stolen credentials into login boxes to see what sticks.
So it's a numbers game. They might have 1 million stolen credentials and maybe only 1% work on, say, Amazon.
Exactly. But that 1% is 10,000 valid accounts. So they take those successful logins, compile them into a new list, often called a valid or hit list, and sell that for a much higher price.
That's the part that gets me. It's the aggregation of these dozens of small data leaks. We keep waiting for the big one, right? The movie-style hack where our whole life is stolen at once. But it sounds like it's actually death by 1,000 cuts.
It is. It's a slow burn. The attackers quietly combine these leaks over time. You might not even know your gardening forum password was stolen until, your bank account is drained 3 months later.
So if the risk is this industrial scale key testing and antivirus is looking the other way, we need a different defense. The consensus seems to be a big 3 action plan. And I know the first one's going to be the one everyone hates hearing.
It is the vegetable you have to eat before you get dessert. Password managers.
I can hear the collective groan of the audience right now. We all know we should use them, but the friction is so real.
It is, and I want to validate that. Setting up a password manager is a pain. You have to export data, import it, audit your accounts. It feels like a whole weekend project nobody wants to do. But here's the reality. It is the only solution to credential stuffing.
Because it forces unique passwords for everything.
Exactly. We cannot rely on human memory. You cannot memorize a distinct high-entropy 20-character string for the 150 accounts you have. It's
Yeah.
just, it's cognitively impossible. So people reuse passwords. The password manager outsources that memory for you.
So the strategy is compartmentalization. If the gardening forum gets hacked, the attackers get a random string of gibberish that only worked on the gardening forum. They try to stuff that into Amazon, and it fails.
Precisely. You
Oh.
stop the cascade right there.
Now, you mentioned the setup is a pain. I've heard people say, I have too many accounts, I'm just so overwhelmed, so I don't start. Is there a middle ground?
You don't have to do it all in one day. Just install the manager and then update your passwords as you log into sites naturally over the next few months. It's kind of a bit-by-bit strategy.
That's better, but honestly, even that can feel daunting for people who aren't super tech savvy. You're talking browser extensions, mobile apps, syncing. It feels like homework.
Security fatigue is a very real psychological barrier. When people feel overwhelmed, they tend to just default to doing nothing at all.
If that's how you're feeling, like, you need to lock this down, but you honestly don't know where to start or which tools are even good, you might want to request a privacy checkup.
Mm-hmm.
It's an optional resource for exactly this situation. It's a personalized assessment that goes over your accounts, devices, and settings, and then just gives you a clear action plan.
And that can be a huge help. Instead of reading 10 different best of articles and just guessing, you get a roadmap.
Right. It saves the time and the guesswork. So if you want hands-on help to avoid that overwhelm, check that out. But let's move to the second pillar of the big three, multi-factor authentication, MFA.
Yes. But we need to be really specific here. Not all MFA is created equal.
This is the SMS versus the app debate, right? I feel like for years we were told, turn on 2FA, and text messages were the default. Now everyone is saying text messages are dangerous. What changed?
SIM swapping went mainstream.
Explain how that works, because I think people assume a hacker has to, physically clone their phone or something.
Not at all. It's actually a social engineering attack.
Yeah.
An attacker calls your mobile carrier's customer support. Or they walk into a store.
Yeah.
They pretend to be you. Maybe they have your address and the last 4 of your social, which they bought from a data broker.
Okay.
They say, I lost my phone. Please activate this new SIM card with my old number.
And if the minimum wage employee at the store doesn't follow protocol perfectly,
Your service just cuts out and the attacker's phone lights up with your number. Now, when they go to log into your bank and click send code via SMS, it goes to them, not you.
that is it's wildly easy when you think about the human element. So the fix is to use an authenticator app.
Yes. Apps like Google Authenticator, Authy, or the one that's built into your password manager. The codes are generated locally on the device hardware.
Yep.
Even if they steal your phone number, they don't have your physical phone, so they can't get the code. It just raises the barrier significantly.
Got it. Apps over texts, always. What's the third pillar?
Breach monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a mindset shift. It's from if I get hacked to when my data leaks.
This is where sites like Have a Been Pwned come in.
Correct. The reality is you cannot stop Adobe or Marriott or your healthcare provider from having a breach. That is completely out of your control. Breach monitoring is about reaction time. It's an alarm system.
But isn't there a breach fatigue issue here too? I get those emails saying your data was in a breach, and I kind of just shrug now. It happens so often, it's lost its impact.
That apathy is so dangerous, you have to treat it like a fire alarm. The goal isn't to panic. It's to know exactly which password was exposed so you can change it immediately. If you're using a password manager, that takes 30 seconds. If you aren't, well, then you have to worry about all the other places you use that same password.
Which loops us right back to step one. It's a system. Now, I want to pivot to phishing. You mentioned earlier that don't click suspicious links is bad advice. I assume you don't mean we should click them.
No. I mean that relying on your own eyes to spot a suspicious link is a failing strategy in 2026. The sophistication of modern phishing it's just incredible.
We're way past the Nigerian prince emails.
Long, long past. We are talking about pixel-perfect replicas of login pages. But more importantly, we're seeing homoglyph attacks.
Homoglyphs? What's that?
It's where attackers use characters from other alphabets, like Cyrillic or Greek, that look identical to Latin letters.
Mm-hmm.
So I can register a domain that looks exactly like apple.com to your eye, but the A is actually a Cyrillic character.
Whoa.
Your browser treats it as a totally different website, but you cannot physically see the difference.
So I could be staring at the URL bar, checking it like a good little user, and still get fooled.
100%.
Yeah.
And this is where the password manager has a kind of secret benefit that most people overlook.
I love a hidden feature. What is it?
The password manager is dumb in the best possible way.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look at the pixels on the page. It looks at the exact domain string. So if you land on that fakeapple.com, your password manager looks at the underlying code and just says, I don't know this website. I'm not autofilling.
That's brilliant. So if I go to a login page and my password manager isn't filling it in, that's not a glitch. That's a warning.
It is a massive red flag. It's like a digital bouncer that checks IDs way, way better than you can. It protects you from your own human error.
That makes the friction of setting it up seem a lot more worth it. It's not just storage, it's an active defense.
Exactly.
We need to talk about the data side of this. We touched on how attackers get info for SIM swaps. That brings us to data brokers. There was a section in the notes about data brokers versus governments that I found really provocative.
Mm-hmm.
Is it fair to say brokers know more about us than the government does?
I'd argue they know different things, but in a way that's more dangerous for privacy. The government has administrative data.
Mm-hmm.
Your taxes, your car registration, your birth certificate. It's static.
Mm-hmm.
Data brokers have behavioral data.
They know what I buy, where I go, what I read online.
They know your health concerns based on what you search for. They know your political leanings, your financial stress levels, your real-time location history.
And this all feeds into what was described as the mosaic effect.
Right. Stitched identities. This is how the really sophisticated phishing happens. An attacker doesn't just find one list. They layer them.
Walk us through that. How does a breach at a retailer connect to a really targeted email?
Okay, so imagine a retail breach exposes just your email and your name. Not a huge deal, right? But then a scraper pulls your work history from LinkedIn. Then a data broker sells a list that links your email to your home address and your purchase of, say, baby formula.
Okay, I can see where this is going.
Now the attacker sends you an email. Urgent recall notice. The formula sent to your home address has been recalled. Click here for your immediate refund.
That is terrifyingly specific. I would click that.
Most parents would. And that's the mosaic effect. They use all this low-value data to build a picture that's high-resolution enough to trick you into giving up the high-value stuff.
It really emphasizes why digital decluttering, deleting old accounts, isn't just about being organized. It's about reducing your surface area.
You want fewer puzzle pieces floating around for them to grab. That's the goal.
You know, thinking about this accumulation of data, it's hard enough for an individual to manage, but I'm thinking about the listeners who run teams or small businesses or creators with newsletters. The complexity there it's exponential.
The stakes are completely different. If you're an individual, you lose your money. If you're a business, you lose your client's trust and maybe face a lawsuit.
And most small businesses don't have a chief information security officer or an IT department. They're just winging it.
Yeah.
This is where I want to mention the Small Business and Creator Consulting Service. If you're running a team and you're listening to this thinking, I have no idea if my employees even have 2FA on, you probably need some hands-on help.
You need protocols that fit your size. You don't need a Fortune 500 security policy. But you need something better than just share the password in Slack.
Exactly. So if you want help setting up those lightweight workflows, booking a consultation is a really smart move. But let's pivot to the final piece of this puzzle, money. We see ads constantly for services like Aura or LifeLock. Are these paid monitoring services the answer?
They are an answer, but you have to understand what you're paying for. There is an industry of fear that markets these tools as shields. They aren't shields. They're smoke detectors.
So they are reactive?
Yes. They tell you, after someone has applied for a credit card in your name, hey, you're being defrauded right now, which is, better than not knowing, but didn't stop the fraud from happening.
Contrast that with a credit freeze.
A credit freeze is proactive. You go to the 3 bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, and you lock your file. So if an attacker tries to open a loan in your name, the bank queries the bureau says, sorry, door's locked, and the application is denied.
And in the U.S., that is completely free.
It is free, and it is the single most effective tool against new account financial identity theft, period.
And this is a huge nuance, it doesn't stop everything.
Correct. And this is where people get confused. Freezing your credit does not stop someone from logging into your existing bank account and transferring money out. That's an account security issue, which is a password issue, not a credit issue.
So if someone phishes my password, the credit freeze does nothing to stop them from emptying my checking account.
Exactly. You need the freeze to stop new accounts, and you need the password manager and MFA to protect your existing accounts. There are 2 different locks for 2 different doors.
That is such a critical distinction. I think a lot of people freeze their credit and think, okay, I'm done, I'm invincible. So let's try to bring all of this together. We've covered credential stuffing, the pain of password managers, the mosaic effect. It's a lot. If we had to boil this down to a philosophy or a final strategy, what would it be?
The expert consensus is to shift your mindset from prevention to containment.
That sounds almost pessimistic.
It's realistic. Assume breaches are inevitable. Assume your data is already out there. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah.
So your focus has to be on resilience. If one account falls, does your whole digital life fall with it?
And if there is one golden rule to start with, one thing to do today,
Secure your email account. It is the master key.
because of the forgot password button,
If I hack your Spotify, I have your music. If I hack your email, I can reset the password for your bank, your social media, your cloud storage. I own you.
so a random, unique password and an authenticator app on your primary email, that's non-negotiable.
Absolute priority number one.
I like that. It cuts through the noise. Start with the email, get the manager, freeze the credit. It's actually manageable when you break it down like that.
It is. And it's a lot more effective than just hoping your antivirus catches something after the fact.
Well, this has been an incredibly eye-opening conversation. Thank you for helping us navigate the paranoia.
My pleasure. Just remember, be the hard target.
And thank you to everyone listening to the Privacy Report. If you found this helpful, please remember to like and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss our future discussions. We appreciate you tuning in.
Stay safe out there.
This episode was made with the assistance of AI.